Welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon reviews. 4 videos up this week, 3 reviews, 1 impression. We are starting with a proper review. The impression will be later. Impressions, you should say. Anyway, first up on the docket is a game called Kity Builder, spelled Kity. Which is ostensibly our feline avatar's name, but is also a pun off of City Builder, because Kity Builder is a cozy city-building sandbox game mixed in with platformer, more on that later, where you build cute towns for kittens. There are no time limits or resources to manage, just a playful space for your creativity. Some limits may apply. Because, yeah, so that bit at the beginning there, this is a city-building sandbox game mixed with a platformer. Yeah, I won't lie, I was not expecting that at any point prior to booting it up and having to jump around a lot of places. In fact, you're going to be using your city building skills to facilitate your jumping, because you don't have like a super jump or double jump or any advanced acrobatics, but what you do have, provided you access the right buildings, is access to structures that you can build on a whim, and thus they're going to be your, for lack of a better term, platforms to hire in normally inaccessible areas. But it's also a platformer in like the Banjo-Kazooie rare collectathon platformer sense of the word, in that there's not really a whole bunch of platforming challenges. Like, there is platforming in the sense that you jump from place to place to get to a place, but it isn't like, you know, a Mario game where that's actually part of the challenge. As the marketing blurb kind of really laid out there, this game is really wrapped to not have challenge. It's it's another one of these hyper casual games that they've shown up on the show from time to time, where they have the bones of a game, but technically, well, I mean, I suppose in this case, technically, it is a game, because like there is an end goal, there is sub goals, that kind of thing. It isn't as open-ended as, say, actual SimCity, because the goal here is not so much to build a city. I mean, you will be doing that, but you're doing that in the service of all of the island's inhabitants. Your actual goal is to make friends with all of the cats that you can have conversations with, starting with the mayor and moving on to like a mad scientist, a couple of bits of land, one of which is like the actual island. The other is a ghost pretending to be something else, that kind of deal. The point is, you have to go and do quests for them, and that pertains to like building buildings, or building a building there. Like in terms of Mad Scientist Kity, the first test with him was building wind turbines in certain locations, which is actually one of the more challenging quests out there. Now, this is also crossbred with the other bit of actual challenge, and that is getting the buildings and building adjacent objects. Like, I don't think each deck chair counts as a building, but it's going to be it's a thing you get in your repertoire nonetheless. And you do that by collecting blueprints, either by helping out these kitty cats, or more often they're your platforming rewards. Like you'll see a lot of blueprints floating out in the sky or in the air, like they would in a proper platforming game. And yeah, outside of that, that is the game. There's not too much to this one, and that's entirely by design. Like, I'll say right now, if you're looking for an actual city builder game, if you're looking for an actual platforming game, this isn't it. Like, as a city builder, it's it's too hyper casual. At least for my taste. Look, I grew up on things like Sim City and Tropico and the like. I'm kind of used to there being some restrictions in terms of monetary flow and what you could build where, in order to facilitate the simulation of actually building a city. But this is that game's track, and if you're looking for the serious side of that, go get an actual city builder.
Mm-hmm. This seems like something I'd let my niece or my sister have more fun with than something like you or I would have more fun with.
Yeah, like what it sets out to do, it does well enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that is to be like, a meditative, calm, casual game. Like, it reminds me of another cat game we reviewed on the program, Calico. If you remember that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty similar in terms of like its design and goals. A hyper-casual city builder thing, just with less platformer and more magical girls. Like, as far as its cutesy aesthetic, I won't lie, it can get tedious. Not so much the aesthetics, but it's one of these games that goes all in on cat puns.
Like, I noticed the mayor was Mayor Muir.
Yeah. And, like, when the cats talk, they will talk in fucking cat puns. It gets old really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never found that that ultra cutesy, like instead of saying awesome, saying possum and shit like that, to be endearing. More annoying, but I suppose your mileage may vary there. What I will say is, no, it isn't funny. And I don't think it's trying to be funny. I think it's trying to be cute. Like everything else in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, there's also like kitty mushrooms or something where if you hit them, you run for a brief amount of time. It's kind of how you get around until you figure out how to you get the proper buildings. Like, the big three buildings that you're going to be using are the two sizes of skyscrapers and the bridge when you find those. Maybe the lighthouse if you need it. And yeah, a bit of a hard game to rate because it kind of depends on what you're looking for. Thankfully, the price is right, I think, because it's going for a surprisingly cheap $8. I gotta admit, I was surprised at seeing this game going for that little, because, you know, look at the production values. Like, this looks like the kind of game that would be selling for 15, 20. But I suppose they figured they couldn't get away with something this mechanically empty and at that price. Again, that's not really a knock against this game, but it's not a real city builder in my estimation. You know, sorry, it's like, you know, having to deal with more than just planting buildings around willy-nilly. Yes, there are like modes or cheat codes that you can do that in real city builder type affairs, but it's much more than just planting down buildings. Yeah. Anyway, is there anything else you guys wish to add to the conversation around Kity Builder here?
No, I think I'm good.
I'm good.
Alright, so yeah, that'll about do it for this game. Be sure to tune in after the break as Petty Fan gives his impressions on Next Tack.